Hello everybody, Michael here with McEwen Gunstocks and various adventures. A quick update on two gun projects that I last published on. It's been weeks now, probably a month. I'm so sorry guys. I ran a gas line into my kitchen, and when I get on a project like that it just becomes 100% just full bore and wasn't easy. But the upside is, thank you for your patience, the upside is that for the first time in 6 years I'm cooking on a real stove instead of a camping stove. And so that's a wonderful thing. Except curiously, this stove doesn't seem to produce as much power as the little Coleman camping stove. Boy, that thing roared. That thing would boil a pot of water so fast I thought that a regular kitchen stove would be equal in power, but soft flames. I think it's burning properly, but it's just really nice though to turn a knob and not have to use a match, or not a match, a lighter. Anyway, thank you all for your patience. It's not fair to you, but I'm back here and I made some pretty significant progress. So in the next week, I ought to be able to get both of these out of here. So this one, lots of sanding. Sanding. So we got this all sanded off, and we got it sanded off here. Everywhere there was not this fake stippling. Well, it's not fake, it is stippling, but it's not done my normal stippling process. Might have been sandblasted. I don't know, hard to tell. I didn't want to mess with it. Just dealing with this, which had lots of issues, big dents and scratches, which I largely steamed out. Missing wood here, which I built up. I try to match the color that I hope the wood is going to turn out at when we're done. We'll see. And there was a little spot, a little fill right there, a little tiny one. Actually filled this whole area. By the time it sanded off, all it needed was a teeny tiny spot. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm pretty sure, I don't know where my sample is at the moment, but this is a very white wood. I don't know what kind of wood this is. It's walnut-like in terms of its grain structure and appearance. I don't think it's beech because it does have some mineral streaks in it, though they're very light. I wonder if maybe sycamore, or it's some kind of walnut I don't know about, but I don't think it is. But it might be just some strain of walnut. I work with Northern California black walnut. I don't have a lot of experience with what they might have over in Europe. In any case, my plan is, because this is so light, merely oiling this comes out really light. And so my current plan, and I might change my mind, when I spot a little section here I need to sand. Didn't realize this little section right here is not stippled. Stippled? I think it's stippled. So I have to sand that. But my plan is to use a walnut stain. I don't like staining because it makes it very difficult to do future repairs. But this Diana 75 is, I would imagine it's a tank. It's super heavy. It's an amazing gun. The intricate machine work and the little parts. Air guns are just amazing. Firearms seem so brutish and simple in comparison. But not that I'm not, let me say that differently. I use firearms also, so I'm not trying to denigrate them. In any case, I'm going to stain it. But first, I thought what I would do is put oil in the wood so the stain won't soak in as deep as it would if it was completely raw. And hopefully that'll make a future refinishing, which could be 40, 50 years from now, but hopefully make the next refinisher's job a little easier, not having to sand all too far to get to the bottom of the stain. It might make it a little easier for maintenance if issues, if a ding develops, has to be steamed and sanded out, maybe by not having the stain super deep. It's still going to penetrate pretty deep. Anyway, that's my plan. I'm going to put a coat of oil on it, maybe two. That'll let me get some fine sanding out of the way before the stain goes on. Yeah, I might do that. Maybe even several coats of oil and work through the grit sanding most of the way. And then put the stain on, and then final coats of oil, which are going to be a lot of them. And I think I might do the old-fashioned denim technique, long time ago, before fancy finishing materials. I understand they used denim or burlap, some rough fabric to rub the finish down after each coat. So I might do something like that rather than sanding, which would impact the stain. So we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. Oh, this is what I did as a sample right here. I forgot what I had used. This is the bottom of the cheek piece, so I figured that was a good spot. I can just sand that off if I didn't like it. And it's actually been several experiments, but it was a coat of oil and then a coat of stain, and I didn't put any oil on top of it. I was just looking for the color, mainly because I wanted to come somewhat close to matching the color on the fill, and we'll see how it does. The fill might be a little darker than this, but it always looks like a fill anyway. So, but let's see if we get this right up close here, if the camera behaves and focuses. I think you'll see that that built up quite nicely. Oh, and here you can see the glass bending here. This was a super loose fit. There had to be maybe 3/32 of an inch, nearly an 1/8 inch of gap between the back. Well, no, I guess looking at that, 1/16 inch probably. It seemed like a mile though looking at the metal. But now the back of the metal is an absolutely microscopically perfect fit to the back of the wood. So that will aid in recoil taming and make the gun a little more accurate. It's no good to try to, you could have the best follow through in the world, and if the steel is moving around independent of the wood that you're holding onto, that follow through is not going to make any difference. So having the steel securely in the wood, I think will help its accuracy. And that's it on this project. Okay, I'm going to relocate this. This is also the butt pad. Seems to be made out of the same kind of wood, although it's sanded up a little bit darker. I'll treat it the same way. It's not a pad, it's a butt board, butt wood. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera off and reposition it over to the other workbench to show that fellow his project, the Mannlicher old percussion cap, I think it is. Okay, we'll be back. It's a muzzle loader. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, here's this antique muzzle loading firearm that I previously talked about. Oh, excuse me. I haven't talked for hours. I've been working here in the shop. It's a beautiful thing. I much prefer working with my hands than electrons. I mainly do web development for a living. So, this one shattered. I mean, it was just broken. And it has become more broken in the process of working on it. So what we did, what I did, I should say, is drilled a hole up in here, and then I am using a piece of drill rod harvested from a lawn reach drill bit. Very useful, they're not very expensive, very useful for the material cutting out of the handles. So this piece here, I'm going to have to rough the whole thing up. I'm going to cut grooves in it so that there's glue locks. I just don't have enough room here to try to do something square, so it's going to be steel. Frankly, I think this gun is going to go into a shadow box and probably never be shot, so it really needs to be only strong enough to be handled, although I think this would be strong enough to shoot it too if anybody restored the steel, but I don't think that likely. So what I did is first I drilled a hole in this side. I stuck the drill bit in there because I didn't have this cut yet, and set that, make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Yep, set this whole thing on top of the buttstock. Traced on the buttstock the angle that the hole needed to be in here, and then just eyeballed it, and I had to go up one drill bit size and a little bit of hogging around. In both holes cases I had to be very careful. This is very thin wood. You don't want to be busting out the side or having the wood splinter. One particular challenge that this gun offered is that there's steel pins all over the place in here. Some of them were underneath previous repairs, And I don't know how they thought these cross pins were going to do anything up here, but there were a bunch of them, so I had to drill through some of those in order to get that through. So I went as deep as I could, which isn't very deep, but I ran into something there. Oh yeah, that's a big pin right there. Look at that. I don't know what good they thought these cross pins were going to do. This is the direction they needed a pin, hold that wood together. So that's as far in as I got there, but you know, that's pretty good engagement. And now that I've identified that pin after I get off the camera, I might try drilling through that and get a little deeper. I do already have my steel cut though. I think it'll be fine. It's going to be pretty significant engagement. You see how much of that steel that's sticking out. That's basically going to be in this. So they do fit together with some work, yep, like that. This side, one of its previous repairs popped out on me, but it'll go back in. More or less like this. I'm not holding it together very well. Now there are some areas of missing wood. So there's kind of that cavernous hole there. A little bit here. A little bit on the bottom. And be a little bit right there. And then underneath here, a little difficult to hold it all together, but there's another chunk missing there. So got a lot of filling to do. So my plan for this is to first get it glued together with the steel rod in it, and then we'll worry about making some bedding compound that closely matches the color to fill it all. My guess is it'll probably be displayed on this side, which is the better side. So the epoxy the glue I'm going to use is epoxy. I'm going to use laminating resin with fast hardener. I'm going to mix it with light colored sawdust to try to come close to matching the appearance of the finish. And I'm going to use thixotropic silica to increase its thickness, and I'll use milled glass fibers to give it some strength. And I add sawdust to control the color, although I can change the tone a little bit with, that is the shade of the color, by adding more silica, because it's white, and even though it turns invisible when mixed with resin, it lightens up the color a little bit when I'm trying to balance strength, thickness of the slurry, and the color. So basically that's all I've got. Thanks guys for your patience, but both of these projects are coming along really nicely now, and I will be working in here until late tonight, and hopefully have some fairly rapid progress to show you all in the next few days. If any of you out there from the general public are watching, thank you very much. Please hit the like button and share and subscribe if you are so inclined. All those things are supposed to help out YouTube channels, and mine is so small I don't expect to ever make $1 from it, but it'd be nice. Get a little bonus. Anyway, thanks guys. We'll see you on the next one here in a day or two.